We've covered goals being specific, which answers who, what, and where. Measurable, answering how can we put a number on it. Relevant, answering why are we doing this. Next, we're going to talk about making our goals ambitious. Is our goal challenging enough? Goals should be challenging but realistic. I'll explain to you why goals need to be ambitious or challenging but realistic. And the main purpose is that the ultimate purpose of goals is to increase effort. That the purpose of goals is that it increases people's effort in some direction. Now, say I want you guys to start putting more effort into fitness and being in better shape. And so I've decided to give you extra credit. And I'm going to give you 5 points of extra credit if you can run a 40-minute mile by the end of the semester. And I think by offering extra credit in this way, I'm going to encourage people to go out and train so that by the end of the year, they can run a 40-minute mile. Is that going to inspire anyone or motivate anyone to go work out? Probably not, because most people can already do a 40-minute mile. No problem. That's super easy. You can walk it, right? So it's not going to encourage you to go out and work on your fitness, which is what I want. Now, alternatively, say I'm going to give you 5 points of extra credit if you can run a 4-minute mile by the end of the semester. This is too hard. You're going to look at this and you're going to say, it doesn't matter how much I train. There's no way I can physically run a 4-minute mile. Maybe some of you can. That'd be impressive. I really will give you extra credit if you can do that. But this is so far beyond the reach of most people that they're not even going to put any effort into it. And so again, I've set the goal in a way that doesn't encourage effort. I've made it too hard and it doesn't inspire effort in people. Now, if I pick a good middle ground and I say I'll give you 5 points of extra credit if you can run a 7-minute and 30-second mile by the end of the semester, for some people that might be way too easy. They're already in good shape. They don't have to go out and start working out more because of that. For other people, maybe they're in bad shape or coming off an injury or something, and that's still too hard for them, impossible for them. But for most of my students, this would be difficult enough to get them to actually train, but not so difficult that they wouldn't be willing to put time into it. And that little Goldilocks area, that's what you're looking for, is making your goals ambitious enough to inspire effort, but not so ambitious that people give up without trying. Whether a goal is too challenging or not challenging enough is always going to be a judgment call. You can't perfectly predict someone's performance or someone's ability. So you're always making a judgment call in regard to, is this a little bit too hard or is this a little bit too easy? So should you err on the side of being too hard or should you err on the side of being too easy? It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're dealing with someone who's new, who's learning, and you're trying to build up confidence in that person, then err on the side of being too easy. We need a few successes under our belt. We need to build up that confidence before we can start getting out of our comfort zone and maybe failing a little bit more. So if you're dealing with someone that's insecure or not confident or self-conscious, then give them a few easy goals to help them build up that confidence. When I played football in high school, our coach would have us do a drill before each game called Feel Goods, where all you would do is just run out 10 yards and catch a pass. And you'd catch like 3 of those and you're like, man, I'm really on today. I can catch everything. It's because you're in an easy situation, right? But it creates this sense of confidence in you. So if you're dealing with someone new and self-conscious, err on the side of being too easy. If you're dealing with someone who is experienced, then err on the side of being too hard. Because if I set a running goal for you of a 10-minute mile and you have to work to get that and you end up working down to a 9-minute mile and beating our goal, that's good. But if I give you the goal for the 7-minute mile and you fail, you only make it to 8 minutes, you're still going faster, you've still performed better than if I'd given you a goal that was too easy. So to build confidence with people, give them easy goals. To push people, give them goals that are a little bit too challenging. Here's our goal. We will create an Excel database of 10 profit, 10 not-for-profit, and 10 government organizations, etc., etc. And here we have the businesswoman asking us, is this ambitious enough? And we say no, we can make it better. So we say 30 profit, 30 not-for-profit, and 30 government organizations. And now our goal is ambitious enough. We've covered making our goals specific by asking who, what, and where, measurable by asking how we can put a number on it, ambitious by asking is it challenging enough, relevant by asking why, and finally, we're going to make our goals time-bound by asking when. When will we finish? Every day, you wake up with a to-do list that you will not complete. All of us have more things to do than we have time to do things. And so we tend to organize our to-do list based on two different dimensions: how important things are and how urgent they are, how soon it needs to be done. And because we are foolish humans, we often use urgency as a more powerful influence on our decision than importance. So in this list below, you see some things that are very important, some things are not. We tend to do the urgent things before we do the important things. So by putting a deadline on something, you are creating a sense of urgency in people, and that helps them prioritize their tasks. I almost always include a deadline in email subject lines to get people to respond to me. I'll say, can you do this for me by blah, 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 by whenever. It is such an effective way to get people to respond to your emails, because by putting that deadline on it, even if you don't really need it by a deadline, by putting that deadline on it, you're giving the other person the information they need to properly prioritize that task, to put it against all the other things they have to do and put it in its proper place. So it's a really useful tool to put deadlines on things. All right, here's Death popping up, and he asks us, when does this need to be done? And we'll say by January 1st at 5 p.m. Be very careful of when you put your deadline, because I could have just said January 1st, right? But if I say January 1st at 5 p.m., I'm going to get all of my databases at 4:59. If I just say January 1st, then I might not get them until 11:59. So be thoughtful about when you actually need things and be as specific and precise as possible with your deadline. Today we discuss goals, which are one of the most powerful ways to influence human behavior, most effective ways to increase performance. We talked about 5 characteristics of effective goals. They are specific, which answers who, what, where. They are measurable, and we have our scientist friend who's going to ask us, how can we put a number on it? They're ambitious, and we have our businesswoman who's going to ask us, is it challenging enough? We have relevant for R, and we have our philosopher friend who's going to ask us why. Why are we doing this? And then lastly, they are time-bound, and we have death, and he's going to ask us when. When is this going to be done? So by asking yourself these questions and then putting this information into the goals, you can make your goals more effective. Not all of this information is always going to be relevant. Sometimes maybe the what or the what is always going to be relevant, but sometimes maybe the who or the where is less relevant. But you still need to include that, because the more detail you have, the more you flesh it out, the more specific you can be, the better your goals will be at shaping effort. The ultimate test of a SMART goal is, if I give my SMART goal to 30 different people, am I going to get 30 versions of the same thing? Because that's what I want. I want every single person who reads my SMART goal to give me the same product, the same outcome. Now, certainly within some specific level of diversity, or there can be individual differences to a certain degree. There are some things that are allowed to fluctuate, but that the core of what I want accomplished is the same across everyone that I give the goal to. The first thing you will notice about this, I've got our original goal at the beginning. We will create a database versus our goal, our SMART goal at the bottom. And the first thing you'll notice is the length, that SMART goals are just so much longer than vague or poorly written goals. And the reason for that, of course, is we have to put so much information in them. And so if you have a really short goal, if it's one sentence, one short sentence, it's probably not specific, measurable, ambitious, relevant, and time-bound enough. Lastly, we'll just briefly talk about the fact that there are 2 different types of goals. There are outcome-oriented goals and process-oriented goals. Outcome-oriented goals focus on a desired level of achievement. They focus on the outcome. So that would be something like, I will run a 7-minute and 30-second mile by January 1st. Process-oriented goals focus on how I'm going to get to that level of achievement. So maybe something like this. I will run 3 miles 3 times a week, decreasing my time by 10% each week between now and January 1st. So outcome-oriented goals are about what my ultimate level of performance are going to be. Process-oriented goals are about how I'm going to get there. When should you use which? If you're dealing with someone who has a ton of experience, who knows what they're doing, then use outcome-oriented goals. Say, hey, this is what I want. You go figure out how to do it, if you have confidence that they can do that. If you're dealing with someone who's lacking experience or doing a new task or who needs to learn, or someone that you're worried about their commitment level, whether they're actually going to do this thing, then you'll want to use process-oriented goals. And that way you can kind of check on them throughout the process so you don't get to December 31st and have someone trying to train to get their mile time down.